أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي واشدد به أزري واشركه في أمري كي نسبحك كثيرا ونذكرك كثيرا إنك كنت بنا بصيرا. ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا. O Lord, bestow upon us guidance and consciousness of what is right given our conditions. Ameen. وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Happy Saturday. Inshallah everyone is doing wonderful. We will proceed with the third ray, which is a supplication. And this, we've been following a sequence as per the advice from the author in terms of walking through divine unity and then going over some sort of conclusion as well with what does divine unity necessitates. And we briefly touched upon a nice concluding supplication last week that pretty much confirmed La ilaha illallah in terms of how we progress in this universe through confirming La ilaha, that is nothing that I see or observe has any power to give existence to anything that I experience here. So we can all apply the case to our days. And so from there, the inevitable confirmation or the answer that comes as a result of my quest or yearning for a one that must provide me with eternal security in my existence. So then we concluded illallah in terms of how my human expectations can only be satisfied by a one, not of the nature of this universe, who gave existence to me, including all my human feelings and faculties. So it was a beautiful supplication we concluded with last week, and today, inshallah, the aim is to start the third ray, which is a supplication. So those of you who joined us in, we are on the third ray, page 50. Is supplication. This treatise proves with extraordinary decisiveness, authenticity, and certainty, together with a wondrous conciseness, the most important of the fundamentals of belief, such as the necessary existence, unity, and oneness of God, the splendor of his dominicality, the immensity of his power, the breadth of his mercy. The universality of his sovereignty, the comprehensiveness of his knowledge, and the all-inclusiveness of his wisdom, the indications of the resurrection of the dead, and especially those emphasized at the end, are extremely powerful. Introduction. The eighth proof of the fundamentals of belief offers evidence for the necessary existence and unity of God, and certain proofs of the comprehensiveness of dominicality and the immensity of divine power. It proves to both the comprehensiveness of divine sovereignty and the extensiveness of divine mercy, and the encompassment of divine knowledge, and the fact that divine wisdom embraces all the beings of the universe. In short, in each of the introductory passages of these 8 proofs are 8 conclusions, proving these 8 conclusions through their evidences. This 8th proof has high value. So there were 2 footnotes. Let me bring these up here. Let me remove this thing. So it says, the 8th proof of the fundamentals of belief refers to this treatise's position among the parts of the Risala-e-Nur, included in the collection called Asai Musa, the staff of Moses. So that's footnote 1. Oh, wow, look at this. Footnote number 2 is long, so, okay. All the proofs of the fundamentals of belief demonstrate the necessary existence and unity of God explicitly. And their other conclusions indirectly. In addition to proving explicitly God's necessary existence and unity, this 8th proof is supplication, has 9 conclusions. It proves, number 1, the majesty of dominicality. Number 2, the tremendousness of divine power. 3, the comprehensiveness of divine sovereignty. 4, the unbounded extensiveness of divine mercy. 5, the fact that divine knowledge embraces all things. 6. The encompassment of divine wisdom. 7. The glittering magnificence of divine rule. So it's just laying out pretty much how the proofs are going to be followed by conclusions. So these proofs on the fundamentals of belief. All right. So those of you who joined us in, we are on page 51 of the race. In the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate, behold, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, in the alternation of night and the day, in the sailing of the ships through the oceans for the profit of mankind, in the rain which God sends down from the skies, and the life he gives therewith to an earth that is dead, in the beasts of all kinds that he scatters through the earth, in the disposal of the winds and the clouds subjugated between the sky and the earth, indeed are signs for people who think. This is from Quran chapter 2 verse number 164. This treatise is supplication, which forms the third ray, is a sort of commentary on the above verse. God's most noble messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, the supreme Quranic commentator and interpreter, expounded one level about divine unity of the numerous luminous levels of this sublime verse. In one of the 99 sections of his peerless supplication, Joshan al-Kabir, alluding in the supplication through 1,001 divine names to 1,001 proofs of divine unity. He described his sustainer. One of those sections is this. Oh, you who is the first of all things and the last. O God of all things and their maker. O provider of all things and their creator. O maker of all things and their owner. O giver of want to all things and giver of plenty. O originator of all things and their renewer. O causer of all things, who determines them with due measure. O nurturer of all things and their administrator. O you who rolls up all things and causes their constant change. O giver of life to all things and dealer of death. Glory be unto you. There is no God but you. Mercy, mercy. Deliver us from hell fire. Amen. This sample shows that the noble messengers, peace and blessings be upon him, knowledge of God, and his proofs of divine unity were at such a level that no one is equal to him, and that in this field, he is the supreme leader. By following him, everyone may enter that treasury. By following him, everyone may enter that treasury. Mashallah, that's exciting. It is clear that knowledge, sciences, and arts are perfected through the conjunction of ideas and blending of minds. Through ideas being combined and different works complementing each other, the works are perfected. This is why the craftsman who invented the Shoshone rifle, not sure how to say this, but Shoshone rifle was more skillful than the one who invented the machine gun now. Whereas one who listens attentively with the ear of the heart to the supplication of Joshan al-Kabir, imagining himself to be in the presence of the unlettered prophet, peace be upon him, and hearing it from him, will understand and see that those 1,001 sacred truths, which comprise 1,001 proofs and descriptions, and each of which is the conclusion of a chain of thought. Each of which is the conclusion of a chain of thought and a window opening onto divine unity, were composed by one unlettered, peace be upon him, among an illiterate people in an illiterate environment, and a nation lacking a holy scripture in totally original, inventive fashion, imitating no one, solving on his own through illumination, the riddle of creation and talisman of the universe. And each of which is the conclusion of a chain of thought and a window opening onto divine unity, were composed by one unlettered, peace and blessings be upon him, among an illiterate people in an illiterate environment, and a nation lacking a holy scripture in totally original, inventive fashion, imitating no one, solving on his own through illumination in the riddle of creation and talisman of the universe. This was not in imitative fashion, like today, with the help and supplications of thousands of other luminaries, but out of his boundless compassion and infinite clemency, due to which he invites to listen both the inhabitants of the heavens under the celestial dome and the vast congregation in the huge mosque of the universe. He seeks help, succor, mercy, and salvation for men. And he says, O you who in the heavens is his grandeur, O you who in the earth are his signs, O you who in all things are his evidences, O you who in the ocean are his strange wonders, O you who originates creation, then renews it, O you who in the mountains are his treasures, O you who creates everything in the best way, O you to whom return all matters. O you whose grace is apparent in all things, O you who displays his power through all creatures. Glory be unto you. There is no God but you. Mercy, mercy, deliver us from hell fire. Here, the supreme Quranic commentator is expounding one aspect of the above verse. Is expounding one aspect of the above verse. A short translation and meaning of it is this. He says, "O one of glory, whose magnificence is to be seen in the skies and heavenly bodies. O one of glory, whose magnificence is to be seen in the skies and heavenly bodies. O one of perfection, the signs and evidences of whose unity are to be observed in the earth and in all its beings. O necessary existent, proofs to whose necessary existence are present in all things and all creatures. O all glorious one of perfection, who creates all the strange beings in the vast oceans. O munificent creator, who creates the treasures stored up in the mountains to meet the needs of living beings. O beauteous bestower of bounties, who creates everything in the best way, administers them in the best way, and provides all the necessaries for each in the best way. SubhanAllah. Oh, omnipotent one, sustainer of all things, to whom all things have recourse in all matters, for all needs, and on whom all beings rely in all circumstances, and to whom pertain all rights and dues, judgments and rule. O gracious and knowing one, the clear traces of whose favors and the manifestations of whose grace and the subtle inscriptions of whose arts and the fine gifts of whose mercy are observed in all things. O all-powerful and wise one, who made the universe an exhibition of marvels in order to display his power to his conscious creatures, and made all his artifacts heralds and proclamations, announcing his perfections. Announcing his perfections, such as his power, wisdom, and mercy. You are free of all impotence and fault. Other than you, there is no God who might succor our plight. Mercy, mercy, save us from hell fire. Ameen. God's most noble messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, the supreme Quranic commentator, expounded the verse with this supplication. Then the messenger's important, precise, intelligent, and exacting student, Imam Ali, may God be pleased with him, composed a supplication-like commentary on his master's supplicatory commentary, and discovering another aspect of the supplication, uncovered a further face of the verse. Keeping in mind his noble master's supplication, he described that aspect of the verse as follows. As we give a short meaning and translation of the supplication above, so do we for this one. O God, in the heavens are no rotations or motions, but through their order and wisdom, they testify to your existence, making you known. On the earth are no changes and transformations, and no states or circumstances, but through their order and regularity, they make you known together with your unity and dominicality. In the seas is no creature, nor even a drop of water, but through its wisdom, it points to your existence and testifies to your dominicality. In the mountains are no minerals, chemicals, or rocks stored up for living beings, but through their uses and benefits, they testify to your dominicality and existence. In the heart is no thought inspired from the unseen, but it points to your existence and testifies to your unity. In the heart is no thought inspired from the unseen, but it points to your existence and testifies to your unity. On the trees are no leaves, but through their order and wisdom, they recognize you. That is, they proclaim that they are the works of your art. In bodies, there are no movements, but they testify to your dominicality. In bodies, there are no movements, but they testify to your dominicality. Oh, our Creator, for the sake of your power, which subjugates the heavens and the earth, subjugate to us those things that we wish. I mean, I'm not sure if I should pause. Seems like this keeps going on with supplications. I mean, this is amazing, actually. You know, you don't want to stop, but I don't know. Let me just check in with everybody. What do you all think? Should we pause or should we move on? It seems that students of the students of different teachers or messengers, they digest the initial inspired supplication with their own understandings and use of wording. So now we're moving on to an important student of Imam Ali. So we can look into it if nobody has any objections, inshallah. Okay. So we are on page 54 of the supplication. Now, Asim, go ahead, please.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
So what is the point about these supplications the author is making? I think for example, he gave an example of, like on the starting of the page 43. I think that's what Brother Ali kind of mentioned, or what was the last supplication we read last week? Page 48, I think that was the one.
Yeah.
Right, so this was something that the author kind of expounded on from the supplication of Imam Ali. So that was his version. And then now here in the third ray, we saw the actual authentic supplication of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. And now there is the version of Imam Ali's take on it also, with as a basis of what the Prophet kind of supplicated. So it's like a chain from the original to the next and the next. And then the author gave an example of whoever makes the rifle, and then now the modern machine guns doesn't reduce the skill of the original rifle is more skillful as an analogy in terms of the supplication that is going on. If you notice that one.
Yeah, what does that mean?
So things are being perfected as you go along, but the thing is that it's clear that the knowledge, science, and art are perfected through the conjunction of ideas. And yeah, that's correct. So as you kind of get together and bring forth the ideas together, everything works. That is why the craftsman who invented was more skillful than the one who invented the machine gun now, whereas one who listens attentively with the ear of the heart. So you got to listen carefully to the ear of the heart. So it has to talk to your feelings right there. I think we kind of mentioned that in this section, we are going to be concluding mostly the ilallah part. We're not going to be reasoning much in terms of the la ilaha part, but I think that's what I kind of understood last time. So here is one of how the feelings are responding back in terms of the supplication. And this Joshan al-Kabir is one of the example that is used as one of these supplications, the way that the Prophet of God who is employed is demonstrating how he feels. It is his feelings that are kind of just talking and mentioning and realizing, communicating with the source of one's existence. So it's interesting how this builds upon each of everyone's prayers and supplications, but it's all coming through the light of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, his supplication. That's one point that I was saying, that so each and everyone is kind of building upon and adding layers and layers of meaning. I'm just wondering what the significance of this is as in this section, how the author is presenting it.
Jazakallah khair for your comments, Wasim. So, yeah, this is a good point about how everyone is presenting their versions of the supplication, or really it's a state of being when we utilize our potentialities to its best capacity, then light shall be inevitable, inshallah. And so, Asim, you're wondering about how does this section on supplication ties in with divine unity? Perhaps, is that what you were asking or commenting on? So let's see if anyone has any comments on this. Or Ali Marmer, go ahead, please.
Well, I'm trying to understand the context. So from last week, we concluded the second ray with the supplication of the Imam Ali presented here, and then we continued. Actually, it's a continuation of the second ray, as far as I understand. So first of all, I wanted to share my understanding of this rifle invention, skillful, why the very first man who discovered the rifle, very first man, it may seem to be very primitive, but the fundamental principles are discovered there. Then after these fundamental principles, the people developed more and more different kinds of supplications, but they seem to be more developed, more improved, so they may put a shade on the value of the supplication presented to us by Imam Ali, as he learned from the teachings or the trainings and educations of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. So he says the first invention is the starting point of the development. So this is much more valuable because it has the cracks of the matter there. That's why it is so valuable, so that we have to go to the first source and learn from there, and then understand how they developed the later generations who followed the teachings of Imam Ali, and therefore the teachings of the Messenger of God, developed further understanding. But it doesn't mean that they were more valuable than the originator of this stand, because up to that point, can you imagine the Mecca conditions of the time where the Prophet and the people around him are living which kind of life? Zero connection with God. Zero connection with God. Their God was only the God of Kaaba, Teset. Because they valued Kaaba, not because of the foundations, the purpose of the foundations that the Prophet Abraham established there. No, because it was the sign for them, if you like, to point to the first, how do you say, not the grandfather, not the, what is the word? Founding father, if you like, of the Arab nation, Ismail. And Abraham and Ismail, or Abraham's son, established this foundation there, and then they attributed their race going back to, in that area, in Hijaz area, going back to Ismail. That's why they had an understanding of a creator God, but has nothing to do with their life. And as a result of within this context of historical context of lifestyle, we see the supplication here is that again is at the end of the instruction of the messenger of God, which kind of significance it has. I mean, completely radical change, completely radical change in the minds, behavior of the people, and also how the capacity of humanity has not only improved, not jumped from a very ignorant level to the most illuminated heart, illuminated mind, illuminated behavior, highly valued behavior of human beings within 20 years' time. That revolutionary change demonstrates that something extremely and extraordinarily took place. So we have to appreciate the value of this change, not only saying that, oh, they were great people. No, the importance of it. If we don't take the same education as Imam Ali took from the Quran and the teaching of the practical life of the Prophet, it is commentator, interpreter, expounder, one level of divine unity. This divine unity is presented and taught by this messenger of God and his first-hand student from the very childhood until the Prophet passes away from this world physically, but his heritage deeply rooted in a very large community. It is impossible uprooted. Sorry. So it is there. So we have to understand the value of it. That's one point. The other point is, yes, we have been studying for many years, actually. Those who join us for many years, most of us are, say, in this position. Yes, there is a creator. This creator is unique. Its existence is unique. He has infinite qualities. All the universe, and with it is all the qualities that we observe in the existence of this universe belongs to him. Of course, we belong to him as well. Our senses belong to him as well. He provided us I have a creator. It is the one who is the infinite absolute being. I know that. I confirm that. I'm satisfied with it. Okay. What shall I do now? When you learn the qualities of the creator and through your senses you concluded this with the guidance of the teachings of the Quran and the practical life or interpretation of this guidance in terms of interpretation, not the commentators on the Quran, but his life is the interpreter of the content of the teachings of God, which is the revelation, guidance from God. Through his life experience, he interpreted the Quranic message or God's message. Now, what shall I do with this conclusion? Now, the third ray teaches us we have to respond back to him. This is the purpose of belief in God. If we didn't respond back to him, which is called worshipping, which is in Arabic, abd. We are abd, performing ubudiyah. So we have to practice it in order responding back to him. So how are we going to do it? There are many ways of doing it. In this supplication, verbal expression of what we see here, as far as we read, and we will continue to read in the following weeks, inshallah. So this is the verbal responding back through realization of the nine, he said, nine conclusions of existence of the Creator, unity of God, and dominicality of God. Again, his divine power, his divine sovereignty, his divine mercy, his divine knowledge, divine wisdom, and divine rule. So it means altogether here in the supplication, it is a communication taking place between me and the one who taught me how his reality can be perceived through his teaching, and also through the exemplary interpretation of his teaching in his practical life. That is how I should communicate with you. Of course, we are not going to study or learn here how to put it into our practical life. That will be left on us, expected. But in order to start this practical life, which is called worshipping or ubudiyya in Arabic, ubudiyya, performing my being apt and my source of existence being the ma'bud, which is worshipped, which is cannot be worshipped. Nothing can be worshipped apart from the owner of the whole universe. So in order to prepare my physical life, how am I going to do it? First of all, I have to acknowledge that I have to respond back, at least verbally, through my feelings that I really confirm it, and communicate through this verbal communication with the Creator, so that I will learn how to put it into my practical life. That is another stage, which is not going to be studied in the third ray. Something to do with our understanding of putting this understanding into our practical life terms, which is called practice of Sharia. Everybody knows Sharia, especially those people who fight against Quran and Islam. They keep saying Sharia, Sharia, as if Sharia comes and kills everybody or something like that. It's a monster, something like that. But it is a well-known word in English as well. I think those people who are in the field know it. Anyway, this is Sharia, means practicing what is practiced verbally through sensual feelings. Yeah, that is actually when Fariha was reading, we are all emotionally engaged with these supplications. Supplicating means accepting that these qualities that I acknowledge, and these qualities, through these qualities that I communicate with you, now I am asking you to keep this consciousness in my understanding, in my feelings, and also give me the opportunity or teach me, give me the facilitate me with practicing in my practical life, physical life conditions. How am I going to practice his unity in my life? For example, while I am walking, doing my business, and maybe cleaning my house and cooking for dinner or breakfast, whatever. and also eating them, and also communicating with other people, observing the world, how am I going to have this consciousness alive and practice it, for example, while I am driving my car, or while I am, how to say, speaking here? Which kind of attitude I should have? So in order to prepare the minds and feelings, of course, we have to start with verbal explanations and also trying to assimilate within our own feelings, which is called our heart. So that's why the supplication must be read carefully, consciously, not in the form of information anymore. We have been trained how to uh, understand the reality of the belief, if you like, and how we can really confirm it. That's what we have been doing. Now, emotional engagement stage starts. Emotional engagement. How do you, for example, if you love your mother, when you come to the when you come home, mother is there preparing dinner for you. What do you say? First of all, I know it is mother who is preparing the dinner for me. I know within yourself, and in the form of information. She loves me. She really sacrificed a lot for me, and she's a very kind, compassionate person. Okay, you go there, wait for her to serve the dinner, and you start eating, but having a feeling within herself that it is this food is prepared by her. She's very compassionate. She loves me. Within yourself, is it appropriate to human behavior? This question I ask myself. No, I'm not made of these elements, only having the information in my mind, having the confirmation of God's oneness, existence, unity, all the mercy and everything, benevolence, sovereignty, knowledge, wisdom manifested in this world belongs to Him. Yeah, I know. No, it's not knowledge. I say belief is not only knowledge. Belief is a, a kind of at the end, or starts with knowledge, of course, and rational satisfaction, but goes through the stages, not only from rational satisfaction into one's practical life. Impossible. We don't work. The human beings are not really being educated in this world. Yes, we go to the class, listen to the professor, and learn the principles there, and then we go do our exercises or assignments and learn really how it works, try to understand how can I really put it into practice, and then I go to the lab, start practicing it. So in these stages, we have been doing, how can I have have in my mind the loving God concept, like the example of, I know my mother and I love her as well. But who lives in this way doesn't speak to her mother and express her love back to her and acknowledge that now normal human beings without condition themselves, this not unconditioned mind and attitude of human beings, majority of are like this. They go, as soon as they say, oh, my mother, assalamu alaikum, yeah, Anna, you are great, I really love you, I know you love me, I know you sacrificed your life for me, etc. And then hug her. And then while you are eating the food, your face expressions demonstrates your satisfaction, happiness, pleasure from the mercy, compassion of your mother. That's how you communicate with it. Without speaking, it is not human. That is supplication period. But after supplication, you do all this, love it, and while you are having the dinner, aren't you supposed to follow the desire, the expectations of your mother? How are you going to have the dinner? Which kind of physical response you are expected to do? For example, at the end, of course, mother is a human being. Don't take the analogy exactly 100% fitting. Shall I do the washing, ma? Yeah, you did a lot. So you unit up. It means physical response back to it, like back to her. So what we do now, while we are practicing the requirements of the practical life of the Prophet ﷺ, which is called Sharia, we have to follow the Sharia in within our life as the pattern of our life, which is called the tradition of the Prophet, Sunnat Rasulullah. That's a Sunnah. That is why Sunnah is practicing the Sunnah is really very important as a completing the process of belief. Otherwise, if we don't go through supplication, communication, responding, and saying that, look, it's simple. That's the very beginning. How did it start? Oh my God, and sustainer. It means I have a divine being as the source of my existence. Oh, my sustainer. That is what we stopped today. I know you are the originator of my existence, everything within me, and you are the one who's sustaining my existence, and you are the absolutely sustenant one, no, sustaining one, sorry, sorry, one, lack of knowledge. So sustaining one, and my existence depends on your sustainership, if you like, sustaining. Now, this communication we are going to present here, inshallah, and we started today somehow, some examples. That is how we should continue our ascension of uh, knowledge of God, love of God, and the really experiencing the result of the belief in God in our practical life. So anything we do, the very first thing we learned from the teachings of the author, do everything in the name of God, acknowledge it, put it into practice, then keep the consciousness and declare it. How? By saying in the name of God, Bismillah, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. Whatever I am receiving now is the result of His mercy, is the result of His compassion. I am aware of it, and I cannot really appropriate it to myself or to any other apparent things, created things. So this is the process, the second stage, what I understand from, how to say, in the ascension, the steps of the ladder ascending to the presence of God. The first step, understanding what our conclusion of existence is and the source of existence. The second, communicating with Him through supplication. Why? Because we cannot say anything else other than supplication. Everything is provided by Him. I will say just in acknowledgement of this, of the source of existence of whatever I receive, I presented this acknowledgement in the form of supplication. Look, I cannot exist by myself. You are the one who gave it. I acknowledge it and I present my conclusion to you. I cannot sustain my existence. You sustain my existence. I concluded this. I am really presenting my conclusion to you in order to communicate with you and establish the relationship with me. It means establishing the ties between me and the source of my existence through acknowledging, not only in the form of knowledge, information, but also in the form of expression or in the form of conversing with him. That is what the prophet practiced. That is what the students of the prophet learned from him and formulated this conversation in the form of, this is one of the very important narration from Imam Ali. So it is the product of, if you like, fruit of the teachings of the prophet we receive in the form of supplication. I'm sorry I spoke a lot, but I think I felt that I have to express and refresh my mind what we are going to do and get ready for the further readings, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Ali. That was amazingly awesome. Your comments. Definitely everything starts from knowledge and then which leads to love, but in between there are several steps which as you mentioned, in like verbal supplication, acknowledgement. Think of it as like the honeymoon phase where you know that now things actually start, where you're going to practically experience everything. And that's how a human being can ascend to its full potential when he or she is in awareness of this, the need for formulating a conversation with their source of existence. Thank you. And Yusuf, go ahead, please.
Just one tiny detail, I would say. I'm not sure, I couldn't catch the English translation of it, but when he was giving the example of this, like the weapon example, the first person who makes the most primitive one, in the following ages, people improve it, but still the one who first develops it is considered an important person because he did it for the first time. In the following paragraph, when the author starts, he says, but I couldn't follow the English one, but I'm talking about the original text. He says, but the case is not exactly like this, because although the messenger is doing it for the first time, his supplication is so unique and still the best. Like the following ages, getting lessons from him, they came up with their own supplication, yet they couldn't reach his level of supplication. So in this regard, author is placing Jawshan Kabir into a place, or seeing it as at a place that is unmatched yet, which is also important for our discussion, I guess, because the messenger himself being taught by the creator, reaching, being the first, but still reaching the ultimate level of what a supplication can look like. And this is why over the ages, still we are looking up on the messenger to learn how to supplicate. Imam Ali did this, and on the following ages, people did that. Yet we are still in need of doing that because he doing the first, yet did the best. I just wanted to highlight that point.
Jazakallah khair, good point to highlight. Definitely, I think, so by definition, the messenger of God, or in this case, the Prophet Muhammad, is really a representative of human qualities and potentialities in the highest form that a human being can reach. And so obviously that then becomes an example for all of us. We strive to be a better version of ourselves with all the opportunities that are given. And I think this is the aim and the goal of also Nursi, to help us read creation in this way. So I think then it becomes a matter of keeping on checking in myself in terms of how am I utilizing this universe, and how am I directing my human feelings and free will in the direction they ought to be. And hence we need like a life pattern of the prophet. Yusuf, I see your hand up again. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, now that you put it to the screen, so in this English translation, the sentence start with whereas. So in the original text, I guess it's a little bit of a minute detail in there. So the author is, I mean, just to make sure, the author is not saying that the messenger's supplication was primitive, but the first. Actually, he's saying, although it would be still considered a revolutionary since he put it for the first time, yet his is the best, despite being the first. Nobody was able to match him. Just wanted to highlight that translation from translation point of view. Otherwise, yeah, the discussion is carrying on well.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you again for highlighting this point. Definitely, we need to be watchful of what we mean by the fundamental supplication or original supplication. So from it, different conscious beings can extract more and more meanings based on their conditions and capacity as well. So very good point. Yusuf, okay, that was from before. Wonderful, thank you for your comments thus far, everybody. If anyone wants to make further additions, right now is a good time. Or if you have anything lingering in your mind, any excitements or anything. If not, then we shall definitely proceed. This is very tasteful piece from the author, mashallah. So we can go ahead and check in what the student of Imam Ali. Okay, so Bismillah, we are resuming from the third ray, page 54. Now, an important, I suppose, or I don't know, impotent, maybe, yeah. Now an impotent student of Imam Ali, may God be pleased with him, and wretched servant of the Quran, expounding this supplication of his, also with this supplication, wanted to disclose in the light of the greatest name one aspect of the sublime verse. By expounding that aspect of the above supplication, which is only one of the 100 sections of the supplication of the Supreme Interpreter, that is, Joshan al-Kabir, the student of Imam Ali, may God be pleased with him, says, "O my God and sustainer, O my God and sustainer, I see through the eyes of belief the instruction and light of the Quran, the teachings of God's noble messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, and the indications of the name of all wise, that in the heavens there are no rotations and motions, but through their order and regularity, they point to your existence. There is no heavenly body, but through its silently performing its duty and remaining in place without prop, it testifies to your dominicality and unity. There is no star, but through its balanced creation, regular position, luminous smile, and the stamp of its similarity to the other stars, it indicates the majesty of your Godhead and your unity. There is not one of the 12 planets, but through its wise motion, docile subjection, orderly duties, and significant satellites, it testifies to your necessary existence and indicates the sovereignty of your Godhead. Yes, O Creator of the heavens and earth, who directs and administers all particles together with all the orderly components they make up, and spins the planets and the regular satellites, subjugating them to his command, just as each of the inhabitants of the heavens testifies on its own. Each of the inhabitants of the heavens testifies on its own. So in their totality, they testify to your necessary existence and unity in a way so clear and powerful that shining proofs to the number of stars in the heavens affirm that testimony. Also, appearing as a regular army or imperial fleet decked out with electric lights, the limpid, beautiful, spotless heavens with their extraordinarily huge and speedy bodies point clearly to the splendor of your dominicality and tremendousness of your power. which creates all things, and to the boundless extent of your sovereignty, boundless extent of your sovereignty, which overspreads the heavens, and to your mercy, which embraces all living things and testifies indubitably to the comprehensiveness of your knowledge, which is concerned with all the states and circumstances of all the creatures of the heavens, and embraces them and orders them, and to your wisdom, which encompasses all things. This testimony is so evident, it is as though the stars are the words and luminous embodiments of the sky's testimony. I'll just take a pause and just check in to see if anybody wants to make any comment. The last piece we read. Okay. Also, like disciplined soldiers, orderly ships, wondrous aeroplanes, or marvelous lamps, the stars in the arena of the heavens and in their seas and vast spaces show the glittering splendor of the sovereignty of your Godhead, as is suggested by the duties of the sun. One star among the members of that army, which are related to its planets and our Earth, some of its companions, the other stars, look to the worlds of the hereafter and are not without duties. They are the sons of eternal worlds. O necessarily existent one, O single one of unity. These wondrous stars, these strange suns and moons are subjugated, set in order, and employed in your dominions, in your heavens, through your command, power, and strength, and your administration and direction. All those heavenly bodies glorify and exalt their single creator, who creates, spins, and administers them through the tongue of disposition. They declare, "Glory be to God. God is most great." Through all their glorifications, I too declare you holy. Think we can stop here for today, inshallah. Next Saturday, we can pick up from O Omnipotent One of Glory. Just a final check-in. If anyone has anything to say or share, feel free to do that. All right. So thank you all for joining in. Alhamdulillah. This was a very fruitful supplication. May we breathe it, digest it, and try to implement it into our experiences, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alim al-hakim. Glory be unto you. We have no knowledge save except that which you've taught us. Indeed, you are all knowledgeable, all wise. Wa akhiru da'wahum anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Bi hurmati